Hello, everybody, and welcome to the River End podcast. This is the first episode, and I'm very excited to say that we're back. We've made a few tweaks to the structure and how we do this podcast now. First of all, we're not on Twitter Spaces anymore, which I'm sure many people will be glad to hear, as it's going to be much easier to access our podcasts, whether it be on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube. You should be able to find it with relative ease going forwards. Also, we're aiming to have it on weekly episodes as well to keep you up to date with the season. We're going to have game reviews from what we've seen on the Saturday before, Tuesday night, and previews as well. Hopefully, this is going to be a much more interactive experience with the fans as well. That's what I'm aiming to do. So, with that being said, I'm delighted to be able to say that I'm going to be joined by Matt Gerrard today for the first episode. So, how are you, sir?
Very good, mate. Very good. Very still optimistic. Still sort of buzzing from last Saturday. So, which is good. The most important thing is we've still got optimism going into week 2 of the season.
Well, I said that to work the other day, and they said it's the hope that kills you. And I went, I've had that before.
It is. It is. But we haven't had much hope over the last couple of seasons. So again, everybody said we should calm down, and we probably should calm down and don't get carried away. But plenty of positives, which we'll discuss in the pod.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of positives, the first thing we should mention is that 2-2 draw against Torquay, where in fact it could have been more for Dover and potentially 3 points.
Yeah, it was. Of course, what went on over the season, I had only seen one pre-season game. That was the one at Deal, and I stood with you watching it. And of course, I didn't have a particularly good morning because I had a double puncher going through Whitfield, and I always remember I crashed my car one day on the opening day of the season. Dover lost that day. So I was thinking that wasn't a good omen, but the 5 minutes quick fit in the cherry tree fixed me tyres, and I wandered up there. At one stage, were you concerned as well with the weather if the game would be on?
I was, because I work in Deal. So leading up to that game, all I could see was the rain. I was just saying to my colleagues, I went, got to be honest, got to be on. But it dried up pretty nicely, and it was a nice dry day during the game. So that was a bonus.
Yeah. I suppose the first 18 minutes or so, somebody texted me saying, "Oh, we're going to lose this 5-0." And at that point, we weren't in the game. Unlucky goal. Well, Chevron McLean, who had a good game, I thought after that, scored an own goal. And they cut us open a little bit. They hit the post. If that had gone in, it may have been a different story. When Bradley Ash, I thought ripped us apart when he was playing for Weymouth, but he was quite quiet on Saturday. And then the second goal, but then, some ways, Iffy Allen going off sort of gave us a little bit of a Mitch Brundle could get into the players, and I thought from that point on we were probably the better side. So richly deserved the point in the end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember when we were 2-0 down within 20 minutes, and we were looking at each other thinking, "Oh God, here we go," because it wasn't just they scored 2 goals; they were just a different class to us. Yeah. It had to be said, and I'm sure Mitch would say the same. They were just, complete better than us, and it was almost 3-0, but luckily there was as you said, they hit the post, and also there was a goal line clearance from new signing from Farnborough, John Oyanuga as well, which really kept us in it, because I think that would have probably dealt the final punch, especially for the first half. But like you say, Iffy Allen going off gave a chance for players to come over. Straight away, Mitch was calling everyone over, having a chat with them, and the team just clicked all of a sudden. I don't know what Mitch said, but if he says it every week, we should be all right, really. But it was fantastic, and what I think was also important was just the individual displays as well. Charlie Naylor was sensational. Roman Charles Cook, absolutely outstanding. There was lots of great individual performances that worked together as a team when you put them together. And it was just really promising to see against a side with the calibre of Torquay, who kept the core of their squads from when they formed together that decent run at the end of last season.
Yeah, on the radio that I did, I gave Naylor man of the match because he is an old school defender. I think in the first couple of minutes, he did a good clearance off his line and putting his body on the line. And throughout the game, he continued to do that. And I think one of the reasons as well we got into the game, because Torquay got a little bit frustrated with the physicality of the 2 defenders, Naylor and Afusi at the back as well. Guys. I don't think they particularly liked it. And that sort of spurred us on. And Sutherland came more into the game, and I think Nikaj deserves a bit of credit as well, because last season he didn't look strong. He came back strong in pre-season. He was winning the balls in the air, and he was causing the defensive problems. And I thought he had scored the opening goal. Sutherland must have had the slightest of touches. I
He
don't know where
did,
you
yeah.
were
I had a
watching it.
perfect view of it, and it was the slightest of touches, but it definitely did come off Zidane, without a doubt.
Would you think it have gone in, Nikaj's shot?
No, the reason, I mean, it clipped the post when it came off Zidane,
Yeah.
and he knocked it that direction. So I think if he hadn't touched it, it would have hit the post but gone outwards instead of
Right. Okay. Yeah.
inwards. So, which from the rules of football, I believe, I think that's off target, isn't it? If it hits the post.
Well, yes, it would be correct. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it is Zidane's, but only just. But after the game, both of them came up to me and was asking who it was, and I felt a bit awkward having to answer that one. But yeah, I think it was Zidane Sutherland's goal.
I think Nikaj said it's mine as soon as it. I think he said it at the time, but yeah, Zidane went off. But I thought as the game went on, they linked up pretty well. Yeah, Nikaj last season he didn't really play up on it with anybody, and that's
No.
one of the things I did take away. There's a few things I took away on Saturday, that at least we had two up front, and we really haven't for a while played with two up front. You probably say we played an old-fashioned 4-4-2, and I know you're a fan of that formation.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, and so Nikaj had something to sort of win the ball, and somebody to, rather than flick it onto himself, he could flick it onto Sutherland, who in patches looks like he's a bit of a thing. You've got to play to his strengths. He wants the ball in behind because he looks sharp, quick.
Yeah.
And Nikaj did that. The effort that the goal he tipped onto just over the bar was a good one, and that grew in confidence. So, and again, the second goal we talk about, Nikaj, beautiful flick by Nikaj that set Sutherland away, and the rest of it was beautifully finished as well. It was a good goal from Dover, but there's definite positives coming in from it. The first half, probably thought, I don't know, you thought, half time probably came at the wrong time for us as well. But the second
we were
half,
gaining
we started
momentum for
brightly.
sure.
Sorry, mate, Kayan?
It was just gaining momentum, and I think that was the thing that worried me when we went into half time, if it would kill it. And the worst thing that could happen, I'm not talking about any scenarios, conceding straight after half time, because it just sets you for the whole game. But we came out and we just carried on. And that's a credit to, I think, the management staff and the players, of course, as well, to be able to keep that level of intensity up. I think that was the thing that also surprised me, is the level of intensity. I mean, they worked so hard. Roman Charles Cook at the end was cramping up, and they all put a really good shift in. And we know Mitch Brundle wouldn't have it any other way, but it's still great to see it.
Yeah. Again, that was one of my concerns with 20 minutes left to play, that they're full time. We would be struggling for fitness, but it didn't really show, because the good thing about it, again, one of the positives, so I'm not going to get carried away. We played two up front. Secondly, my summariser picked us up really nicely. We didn't play out from the back. Every time Terrell gets it, who looks a decent keeper, his distribution is good, which
very good, yeah.
As soon as we got it, we moved it on quickly. Last season, his last season. I'm not a big fan of the keeper puts it to the fullback, who then plays it slow. I like us getting, the quicker that we can get up the pitch, the better. And so I quite like the way that we did it. There was no, playing it around the back, get the ball forward, because we've got players who are strong and quick that can cause problems in the final third. And also, we had a bit of pace in midfield. People want to run with the ball. Dunn did well, just sitting back. But then a couple of other midfielders quite happy, get the ball and move it forward, which again, something we haven't had in a while. So,
no, I mean, we saw that a deal from where we were standing. We were right behind the dugout, and we saw just how frustrated Mitch was getting every time the keeper took a while to get the ball going.
Yeah,
so it's obviously a way he wants to play, is sort of take the game to them and up the tempo. I mean, of course, the worry is, if we go against these full-time teams like Torquay and Yeovil. I mean, obviously it didn't happen with Torquay, but Yeovils and even Eastbourne are now full-time, and a few other teams. It's the fitness levels. But like you said, I don't think there was any sign of issues to fitness. I mean, like I said, Roman, he had a few bits of cramp at the end, but it's right at his first game of the season, so it's only going to get better.
That was good. again, another thing, I liked it. We were turning their defenders towards goal when we used the flanks as well. Bello, who had some good moments and some difficult moments, I thought at times, but it shows that he's got a player in there. Charles Cook, we thought he would be more of a fullback, but looked very good down the right-hand side. He's strong for his age, and he's got the ability to beat players. My only criticism we would probably say for the team was our final ball let us down in places, but we were in that position to put the final ball. So I'm not going to criticise him on that. A couple of times when we came forward, they put a little bit more on the ball, we're in. But that will come as the season comes through. So, and I will say as well, the two fullbacks, I'm being positive here because everybody had a good game, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there was a single person. I mean, because we were quite worried, especially about Michael Oluwaju deal, because I mean, I'm sure he would say himself that was not his best game of his career. But he did quite well. He did back in defence, putting off the strikers like you say earlier.
Yeah. Again, he's not the quickest probably in a foot race, but the physicality and playing to his strengths and getting under the nose of strikers, I'm all for that. And they looked a good partnership, him and Naylor. And the two fullbacks, Chevron McLean, unfortunate own goal. He looked solid at left fullback. Oyunga, pedigree.
Oh, I thought he was brilliant.
He looks, Mitch bigged him up afterwards saying, he one-on-one, he won't get caught out of the back, which is good.
So he said he was one of the best in the league, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, exactly. And Eastleigh brought him this time last year. It didn't work out for them, and he went back to Farnborough. But yeah, the baseline there, we've got a squad of 25 now, isn't it? 25, I think 25.
I think it's just shy of that, but yeah.
But again, there seems to be positions players that we thought would play didn't, and it looked positive.
Well, it's funny you say that. I don't know if you ever have a look at my Twitter, but a few days before the game, I put out what my starting 11 would be, and funny enough, it was a 4-4-2 with Roman Charles Cook at right midfielder.
Right.
So whether I was manifesting something, I didn't have John Yanuga there because he hadn't signed. I had I think I had Charlie Naylor right back actually. I had Osimhen, I had Cisse left back because I didn't know about Chevron. Oluwaju, Osimhen, who I thought was really good at come the end of pre-season actually, beats Osimhen, and Naylor right back. And I had Roman playing a little bit further forwards. So it's interesting where these players, because I don't think they're all going to stay in the same position as the season goes on.
I don't know. I'm thinking that Mitch Brundle may be a bit of a tinker man as well. I don't know if he will keep the same team every week. Right, might bring in like this week. Will Kayani come into the squad because he's at Slough? Will he change formations? Arguably, the players who performed last week probably deserve another chance, in my opinion. But
there's George Wilkinson as well.
Yeah, George Wilkinson, driving midfield. So again, there's plenty of positives, and I think we need to give a bit of credit to Mitch Brundle as well because
absolutely, yeah.
I quite like Mitch. He's a complex character, but over the last few years, the club has had a losing mentality, and I keep saying this that we've got to get that losing mentality out of us because it's no good for the club, and probably the link between the players and the supporters had gone because we turned up every week and we were knowing that we were likely to lose, and if we can change that, and again, we could lose at the weekend and everybody's back to doom and gloom, but we just got to get that. And Mitch Brundle, he says the right things at the right time, and he is a character who wants to succeed. And maybe over the last 18 months, we haven't had the characters or players or even management. Well, they wanted us to succeed, but it didn't come across that to the fans. If you're with me? Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's that desire as well, and just you can see that the passion with him. I mean, there probably will be an element of bias here because he's taken me on as part of the media team as a volunteer. If people don't know. So I've spoken to him a few times, but there is no questioning his passion for it. And, there will be a lot of people, even myself really, thinks, maybe if he got up to full fitness and went back in the squads, he'd probably be one of the best players there.
Yeah.
But that's obviously not what he doesn't want to do, and that's fair enough. But I think he's got to have a lot of credit, not because of the performance and going from 2-0 down to 2-all, but he must have had one of the worst pre-seasons any manager could have ever started with. Part of that is his fault, through his words. Part of it, maybe it's somewhere else's, whether it's the players or whatever. It's not for me to say. But to bounce back as well from that season, from that pre-season, is a true testament to his character. And I think as well, it just shows how he is, because I think he's quite eager to prove people wrong. He likes that, he likes being the underdog sometimes, and he can go out there and say, "You all put me down here in 24th. Well, I'm going to show you what I can do." I think he likes that.
Yeah, I think he will use that as a stick to sort of say it. And again, we're not going to say, I'm not going to say it now. I don't think Dover will be in the playoffs. I don't think, but we're going to win the league or anything like that. But I think Mitch Brundle's out there. Let's prove things wrong. And at the end of the day, he brings these players in who are young and hungry. We've got players, can't think of too many, who are on the way down. Is there that squad? James Dunn, no disrespect to James Dunn. He's had a very good career, but now it's his chance to sort of mould the next thing with the kids and to have a career like him. Previous seasons, we probably have players who were on the way down and didn't care, but with
I know what you mean.
Going through the motions, maybe that's probably the best way of saying it. So on that break, and Mitch Brundle, he's what, 28, 29 years of age.
That's
he
right.
knows the next couple of years, this season at Dover, he does a job. Other clubs will look at him. He knows it's an opportunity. If it goes wrong for Dover, where does he go? He puts his boots on, but it may not be the end of his manager. It may be the end of his coaching career for a while. So he's got a lot to try and improve. And I think he is trying to put his fingers up to other people and say, look, I've been knocked down, but we're going to come back out of it here. And again, we have had a poor pre-season, and again, the whys and whereabouts of that. But the play he's brought in with the budget we've got, which we know is not the biggest, I think players who come in who have probably been not given a chance or haven't really settled somewhere. Maybe Mitch Brundle's put his arms around them and say, right, we do well here, we can all do well.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think he's recruited quite well with the budget that's being reported. I don't know a figure, but it's definitely, in comparison to other teams, it's been reported to be one of the lowest. I think he's done quite well.
There was nobody. Again, I can be quite critical of certain players. I think I can spot a player, and then after a while you think. But again, nobody on Saturday's showing, to me, looked out of their depth, which is good because we've had our players out of our depth, I think, over the last few seasons. So, and again, I don't want to keep saying this. You should probably name this podcast "Not Getting Carried Away," but it is good that we've got something to. Everybody went home on Saturday, probably better than they thought they would do. If again. They went up there,
especially after
2-0 down after 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And maybe we weren't being a bit too negative. Let's be positive. If we went and get a result of the weekend, everybody would be absolutely buzzing. And when was the last time anybody, a Dover fan, you were really buzzing?
God, it must be
a long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
So, all in all, a fantastic result. Fantastic performance. Fantastic second goal, Charles Cook, fair play to Nick Hars, lovely flick on Sutherland, sensible play from Sutherland, could have gone on his own, but Charles Cook, who's got plenty of energy, good finish from the fullback.
Well, Zidane Sutherland, sorry, he's an interesting player because I don't know about you, I was quite surprised when I read the team sheet. Yeah, especially the two striker choices of Nikaj and Sutherland. I thought he was going to go with Dembele and Bello. Maybe Nikaj and Dembele. I definitely thought Dembele was going to start.
Yeah, Dembele, he must be, he's played a lot of pre-season. I thought he looked good when he came on. Put a lovely ball across the penalty area that probably wanted he couldn't get on the end of it himself. But
that's it.
He would have been a little bit disappointed because from what the reports I get, played a lot of time in pre-season. But Mitch, and I spoke to him a few days before the Torquay game, he said Sutherland had impressed him in one of these non-league gems things and wanted to get him in. He's based in Birmingham, but gave him the number 9 shirt. So
he proved me wrong to Dan Sutherland.
So
He proved me wrong to Dan Sutherland. I'm not going to shy away from it. I said when I saw the team sheet, I thought that was a mistake playing as Dan Sutherland because of his career so far. This is the highest level he's ever played. I thought it was quite late to him joining the squad. So he hasn't had time to gel, and I was absolutely proven wrong. 37th minute, takes on a few defenders, takes a shot from just probably about 20 yards out, forces a save from the keeper that could have gone anywhere, and unfortunately just hit the crossbar. Next 5 minutes later, albeit just a small touch, it still took a go in. He got his assist later on, and quite rightly so. I think he was probably one of the man of the matches at that game, actually.
So, yeah, again, another player, a bit like Mitch Brundle. I think he's started at West Brom, did he? Been around the houses. Bromsgrove, if you're an old Dover fan, you'll remember Bromsgrove back in the day. When they used to battle with them at the top of the table to get promoted to the National League as it once was. So, yeah, again, maybe these players have got something to prove as well. So, yeah, not getting carried away, but everybody was happy on Saturday, and that's good for a Dover fan. That's good, and you go on the form if you do that. Everybody was happy as well. Because normally that can be a bit of a cesspit at times.
Yeah. Well, the last bit of positivity I'm definitely going to inject in it. The bit that excites me the most is the fact that we don't just have a starting 11, we have a squad.
Yeah.
The fact we have to put the likes of George Wilkinson, Imran Kiyani, Nick Dembele, even the young lads like Hatchu, I was very impressed with in pre-season. The fact they're on the bench and it's even the reserves is very encouraging to me. I mean, I'll read you a couple of stats. For Oriofe Bello, albeit it was in the under-23s, when he was at Carshalton, 30 goals in 32 games he had, and that was only 2 seasons ago. He scored 3 goals for them in the senior team. He scored 4 goals last season for Merstham. And he was on the bench. So that's exciting. Peter Osimhen barely missed a kick last season with Margate, won the Kent Cup with them. So that's a bit of experience for them. And Henry Young as well. He was on the bench, won the Kent Cup with Margate. And then of course, you look at the squad that we've got at the moment. James Dunn, 42 appearances for Welling last season. Season before, 26 games for Southend, 2 goals. And he's of course gone from Exeter to Stevenage, Portsmouth, Cambridge, Swindon, all that experience. I think the whole squad together is impressive.
I think on whatever levels of football, money talks. So again, we've got a hungry squad who want to prove people wrong, and that's exciting to hear from a Dover point of view. And again, I don't want to put a damper on this. We could lose the next 3 games and everybody's down in doom and gloom. But if we can follow that up with a good performance on Saturday, you just grow and just it's a long, hard season. One game out of 46, but there's definite positives to be had in there, and just got to follow that through now.
Yeah, and speaking of Saturday, so we're away to Slough Town, first away game of the season. And Slough survived the drop last year by only 3 points, when some actually tipped them to be higher up with the off the pitch changes they're making at the club. They lost 2-1 to Maidstone last game. Maybe the penalty for Maidstone was a bit harsh, in my opinion. I think it was, and even the red card.
Very harsh from what I saw. But
yeah, but it is what it is. So, how do you think Dover are going to get on at Slough in the weekend, based on what you've seen so far?
Well, Slough and Scott Davis. I think Mitch Brundle was quite friendly with Scott Davis as well. Davis, he's sort of the player manager, same age, 35.
Yeah, player manager. Yeah, midfielder as well. Funny enough.
Yeah, came in November. Good player in his day. And again, looking at their transfer business, they've sort of signed players from the level below. One player from St Albans. So, and again, I think their budget is not the highest in the league. And I think on the pundits called it that the average position, all the reviews of the season would be that Dover would finish 24th and Slough would finish 23rd. So. Right. On that basis, they may have the 2 smallest budgets in the league. Slough, it's a difficult one. I think last season on the 3G, if that makes any difference to Dover with the pace, I don't really know. I can't even think what our record was. I
can't imagine a player going up to Mitch Brundle and blaming the pitch for it.
No, exactly, no. So you can't. But again, I don't know what our record like was last season on 3G. We can go there with confidence. They've got something to prove. Disappointing was I felt fit for them. Looking at the highlights, I only went over the main instance. So I didn't see the full highlights. Good goal. Johnny Goddard, probably their man to watch. Good player, Goddard. I really like him. When I've seen
last year in 42 appearances, and the season before at St Albans, 7 goals and 42 appearances.
Good player. Yeah, good left-footed player, drives forward. I don't know how old he is now, but he's a good
30.
player. He's a kind of player that I would have probably liked last season when I saw him for St Albans. He always stands out. So he's a dangerous player, and he will run at the defence. So the fullbacks will need to keep an eye on him.
I mean, when you watch the highlights, his goal, you see how much space he had before he was able to take it and drive. That can't happen on Saturday, the amount of space he had.
So I think from that, again, on paper, the first 6 games for Dover, 4 I think are quite tough, and there's 2, and I won't say the other team. You think we might be able to
take an educated guess, but
but it'll be absolutely lovely. If I would like us, not to lose at the weekend. I would take a point now.
Okay.
Just to just keep the momentum going. Slough got something to prove. Of course, Bayliss will be suspended.
Yeah.
Again, I thought it was quite a harsh sending off. I don't know if the crowd got him sent off. Big crowd at Maidstone, quite vocal. And Wanjay Smith sort of knew what he was doing by cutting across him. So I felt a little bit forward there. Again, scrappy goal they conceded. Didn't clear from a corner. Maybe didn't pick the markers up. But have we got anything to fear? Probably not. If you can draw against Torquay, you don't want to be losing to Slough if you're looking at the pundits saying that we're going to finish 24th, Slough are going to finish 23rd. So,
Yeah, we can't underestimate them. I think
no, exactly. Not going to underestimate. They're a good side. Who've always been. When the last been a couple of years they've been promoted. So Scott Davis, like Mitch Brundle, has got a difficult job. Even more difficult when he's playing as well. Yeah, but he's brought in. I see one of the names that jumped out to me from the bench was Jefferson Louis. Is involved still. I think he's about 44 years of age. He came off the bench against Maidstone. I don't know if they've got injury problems. If he's still why he's playing still, but again, always a threat and will always be a menace. So we can't underestimate them. No, absolutely not.
I've highlighted a few players that I think are the biggest threats from Slough. So at the beginning of the season, as you know, but a lot of people don't know, is I collate a lot of data from all the different teams in National League South, and I put together sort of a master spreadsheet, and it gives like a bit nice overview of each team, where the strengths, where the weaknesses are, and I update it throughout the season, look at the games, seen, as I think, for example, Slough, I thought their number 4 named Joe Dandy, although it was just from the highlights, not the whole 90 minutes, every time in the highlights he was pressed, I encourage people to go and watch this just to see that number 4. Every time he was pressed, he looked very vulnerable. And although he didn't lose the ball every time, it looked as if it was an issue. So these are sort of things. But I've made on my spreadsheet, I've highlighted a few players that I think are ones to look out for. Well, we've already gone over Johnny Goddard, and we all know how good he is. And although he didn't score loads of goals last season, he was still Slough's top goal scorer in the league.
He's a classy player at this level.
Yeah, exactly. Another player I've got is you briefly mentioned him, the lad from St Albans, Munash Sundar. He got 23 games from last year, and before that, 34 games at Kings Lynn. So he's an experienced midfielder at this level. He's been around the block a little bit. He just sort of brings that calm and experience in the midfield. But then again, we have James Dunn who can do the same thing and has even more experience than Football League experience. But I think Munash is he was in a St Albans team that almost got into the National League. Maybe deservedly, I should have went up. I don't know. It's not for me to say, but I think he's one to look out for.
Again, and also one of the players I noticed is Johnny Giles on the bench, former Oxford man, played for Chelmsford. Surprised he wasn't playing in far. He's another good attacking player. Saying that for Slough, Maidstone is going to be a difficult place to go first game of the season. They haven't won in absolutely ages, so really Maidstone were up for that game because they needed it, I think, to get a result. So the reports I got from people who were there saying that Maidstone weren't great Slough were a little bit unlucky at times, and if they'd have taken some of those chances, it could have been a different story. So, they've
Yeah,
got
well,
to.
it's been over 200 days, I think, or something like that, that I read online that Maidstone hadn't won a game for.
Yeah, so a difficult one for them early doors, and they probably took the lead. Will be disappointed didn't hang on to it. Going down to 10 men, they couldn't hang on as well. So they've probably got plenty of positives as well from that performance, and they'll be trying to make it hard for us in front of their own supporters. But again, maybe you put the highlight, press from the front. We've got pace in the time, push up, and try and win the ball from them and get forward. And what I like to do, I like us driving with the ball because that gets us up the pitch quicker. We saw both fullbacks would like to get forward. We'll be interested to see if we make any changes, but we go there with no fear, no pressure on us a little bit, because even though we've got a result against Torquay, we're probably going to be underdogs going to Slough.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like I said, I think Slough's one of those teams that I always tend to put in the relegation zone every year when I do the prediction, and they never go down. So I think that's the important thing. I think it's easy to underestimate just how well, or not take into consideration just how well they did against the Masons. So like you said, it's absolutely up for it. I'll tell you another player I've highlighted as well. He's one that a new signing they've made as well. His name is Tyrese Dyche, and he was at the West Brom Academy, went to the Sunderland Youth, played many games in the junior Premier divisions, and was actually at Gosport last year. And I spoke to a Gosport fan, and he said he was a class above. And he plays in a left wing back position because looking at the highlights, it looks like Slough operate at 5 at the back, 3 main centre backs, and 2 wing backs that push forwards, with the wing backs coming back quite a lot frequently. But Dyche seems to be quite, not a lot got past him. It was just a few triangles that got around him. But he's someone as well I would have a look out for as well if I was Mitch Brundle.
It'd be interesting if they're going to play 5 at the back. Do we match them up?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
You could probably bring Ogyman in, and maybe the position is on. If Allen's out injured, you bring Ogyman in. We know the fullbacks will get forward. Reece, we don't want too much Reece Charles Cook. We don't want them sort of getting in each other's way. But that will be interesting to see from there. So it'll be interesting to see how we do that. Will we match up with it? We'll have to wait and see. But it should be a decent game. And again, like Saturday was a benchmark for us, this is a benchmark for us because people are going to think, maybe we could get a result up there. But again, we're not getting carried away, as I keep saying.
That's right. So a couple of days after Slough, 3 days later, we've got Tonbridge away at Longmead. We'll just have a quick discussion about that. So Tonbridge, I've seen them placed high up in people's predictions, and I've seen them low down. And they lost their first game of the season, the 95th minute, to Worthing, and which I think they would have been disappointed with, not to get a point, because I'm sure Worthing are definitely going to be up there this year. They've made, of course, the signing of Stephen Payne, who we all know and love, and they got the great manager Jay Saunders. How difficult do you think that's going to be against Tonbridge Angels, and sort of how do you think it's going to compare against the Slough game, a different sort of test?
Well, in one of Mitch Brundle's first game, we went up to Tonbridge Angels in January and we got absolutely torn apart. They were a lot better than us. Again, I think after that game, Mitch Brundle basically got rid of Pavey, wanted to get rid of Wanadio, and brought his own players in to change it. So from that basis, Tonbridge, good side at this level, good spine to the team, and a good manager in Jay Saunders. So a club on the up, on and off the field, I think, because they've got new owners who are trying to put it into the community, which is good to see. Jordan Higgs, of course, coming up against him, who had a good season for Dover last season, particularly the first sort of third of the season. I thought he was excellent. Tailed off a little bit, but he's gone there as well. They've got a bit more experience than us, so that's probably a good test for us there.
I'll take a draw against Tonbridge away. I think.
Yeah, normally we
definitely.
have a good record against Tonbridge going back a few years. They did beat us in a playoff final many moons ago, but they've got a good spine on the team, good keeper in Henley. Ben Swift is decent at the back. Cody Lyon Foster's decent. I know he got sent off. Scott Wagstaff got their player of the year last season. I
Yeah.
do like Joe
Former
Turner.
Wimbledon and Gillingham.
Yeah, did well at Gillingham. Joe Turner, he caused us all sorts of problems in the game up when we lost 4-0. I see he was on the bench on Saturday. And Stephen Payne. Stephen Payne, I'm led to believe he's not fully fit at the moment.
No, that's right.
So Payne, lovely player for us. Hasn't worked out from a bit of Shrewsbury, but he's a character, Payne, as well. So again, like a lot
He's a
of
pain
players
for the
that we've had.
managers.
Sorry?
He's a pain for the managers.
Yeah, he can. But again, like a lot of players we've had, Chris Kinnear had that ability to get the best out of players, and Payne
Yeah,
was particularly
definitely.
one. And I say this to people all the time. I always think, that Stephen Payne was a better player than Ricky Miller, just for what he brought in the team. He can be a nasty piece of work, which I really like as a forward, and his work rate and holding the ball up was first class. I saw him a little bit for Welling last season. Still got that quality touch. So, but he played a little bit more in midfield. But yeah, tough game at Tonbridge Angels. Don't think our record was particularly good last season in Kent Derby as well either. So we would like
No.
to put back that put us, if we can get a result in a Kent Derby, that will be good. It's going to be tough there, but if we get a result at Slough, you go into that full of confidence. And I spoke to somebody and they said, well, I think they would like the next two games, would like 4 points, they would say. That could be tough. But if we can win one of these two games, that will be a good 4 points out of the first three games. So if we lost the other one, I think it's a good return. It will be tough against Tonbridge Angels, no doubt. They'll have a lot of the ball. And again, we've got to make sure our pace on the counter-attack can absolutely hurt them. Get behind the back, get the defenders facing their own goal. And again, we've got to be careful they're not too gung-ho, because one of my other concerns would be that we could get caught on the counter-attack in certain times. But it didn't happen at the weekend because luckily we've got two good fullbacks who are quick, who can cover in. But tough game against Tonbridge Angels, no doubt. So but where do you stand on Tonbridge Angels as one of the Kent sides? Do you think they could aim for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're going to battle for the playoffs. So I've got Hemel Hempstead is my dark horses for this season. I think they've got really good setup going on there with the players they've got, and especially when Judd comes into the squad because he didn't actually play on the weekend. They've got 3 points against Yeovil, good manager. Them and Tunbridge and Hampton, I think, are going to be battling that playoff position. Especially if Jason is an excellent manager, as you know. If he gets the best out of Stephen Payne when he comes in, then they're going to be a real force. I mean, I know we're unfortunate to lose. It's Alex Finney, isn't it? The one who went to Eastbourne?
Yeah, centre half. Again, they lost. Jordan Greenwich came in last season. I don't know where he's ended up. But he's not there.
I think
Scoring
he's in
goals
somewhere in the National
has
League
been a
North
problem
now.
for Tunbridge before, but Greenwich scored a lot for him last season.
Yeah.
My concern: have they got an out-and-out goal scorer? If Payne's looking at Payne, he's not an out-and-out goal scorer anyway these days. Have they got
Yeah.
enough goals in the squad? A lot of pace, a lot of good wide players. Joe Turner like him a lot up front, so it'll be interesting to see if they've got enough goals to get in the playoffs. But I can see them being successful. I'm interesting. I'd love to speak to you because I am at Welling v Hemel on Saturday, so I'm going to see how
Okay.
people will do. Good manager, Brad Quinton, former Welling
Yeah.
manager as well. I think they could be in for a good season. Beating Yeovil at the weekend was a good result for them. So, and
For
Welling
sure.
getting a Tonkin, well, interesting to see it is. So, I will see two other sides at the weekend to see how they are as the season goes on.
Brilliant. Well, Matt, thank you very much for coming on. I very much appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Bradley. And I will be optimistic looking at my phone at 5 o'clock to see how Dover get on. Again, I think I've been. It is good to get carried away, but we've got to rein it in a little bit because it's only one game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think as well, one thing I do want to mention before the end, because I will wrap this up in a second, is I think I want to say how encouraged I am about the steps the club off the field are taking. Now, it's not something I like to talk about too often off the field because of the different controversies behind it. But I think the community team are definitely going in the right direction at the moment. We had the community day and we've got different things setting up in the centre spot at the moment. I think it's worth a mention to the people in the community team with Vicky, Paul, and Debs as well. I think that they're doing a fantastic job, and I think it's just worth a mention.
Yeah, and hopefully, that can work wonders, and we can get more people through the gates and more people, being proud of Dover Athletic as a football club, was maybe we haven't been over the last few years, and that's all we want. We want to continue to be proud, like we were at the weekend of our team.
Yeah, and I agree with the sentiment definitely. So, Matt, once again, thank you very much,
Pleasure.
appreciate it. And for everyone listening, if you ever have any feedback or suggestions or want a specific topic we want to cover in the future, or even want to get involved yourself, just let us know and we'll try and sort something out. So, with that being said, really appreciate you listening and thank you very much.